So I finished up my presentation board. I've started out the video clip here with the interior rendering because I think it's very descriptive. And I haven't done a very good job in my presentation sheet of communicating this. This is a ray traced rendering, not very high resolution, but it's really tells a big story about how the columns come together, how the plates meet with each other. I've started to do a little bit of detailing about how, HVAC systems might go through and those kind of things, but I didn't spend a lot of time developing interior work. I don't think that was in the scope of this part of our experiment, our weekly idea of modeling something. Let's go to I'll go to the presentation sheet that I produced. I'll zoom out here. This time I changed the size of the layout, and I would encourage you to do the same. It was kind of to experiment or with the format that the school uses for presentation sheets. It's 96 inches high, 8 feet high. I think ours are 6 feet. I'm not sure on that, but I went ahead and made a larger layout just to experiment with it. And this is 36 inches wide by, I think, 8 feet tall. So it's really quite huge. But then I experimented with doing, trying to communicate, which is a relatively complex project on a single sheet of paper. I'll zoom in here and show you some of the things I attempted to do. One was I made a little yellow bracket that would be bolted on to facilitate the handling of the modules on site. I expanded or I upscaled the column a lot so we could see all the details about that bracket. I think the column in this design is critical to the overall idea of the structure. I'm illustrating the two modules, and I did at least some descriptions of what the facade might look like. I didn't render these. I just used normal rendering, not ray traced rendering, although I did find that I have a couple of examples of ray traced rendering of the facade that certainly looked a lot better. The intent was actually these would be copper panels in there, but that's not significant to this project. So anyway, that's the overall layout. Like I said, I included the interior and a little rear view section cut of the whole thing. I think the idea of the modular construction and all of this is really quite interesting, so I'm excited to see what you guys come back with. I exported this 4,000 pixels wide instead of the normal 2, so I could capture a little more detail. But I was actually a little disappointed in a couple of aspects of that. I'll zoom in here, and I use the arrow buttons on the keyboard. So I'm going to shoot up to the top. The tall columns seem to print really nicely. This view to the right appears to be a bit pixelated, and I'm not sure why that happened because not all views did that. This one looks relatively crisp, the module one. And the building looks relatively crisp, except that there's no anti-aliasing or not effective looking anti-aliasing happening in some of this imagery. Not exactly sure why that's occurring, because it doesn't seem to occur everywhere. And then these are just inputs of ray traced renderings set on top of that drawing. So that just gives you an overall idea of what I think would be a good attempt at this project as far as exploring the fasteners, connections, layout, structure, elements. And like I said, I'm really excited to see what you guys do.